Hi everyone, welcome again to RSKBSL Agile dedicated channel where you can find all the expert discussions on Agile. In the last session, we discussed the impact of Agile on different projects. There are still many teams those are unenthusiastic to adopt Agile, and the reasons for this is that there are a lot of misconceptions about Agile that are resisting teams to adopt Agile. So in today's session, I and Varun would be discussing about myths of Agile. So the first myth which we will be discussing about Agile is a silver bullet. You can fail as spectacularly on an agile method as you can using any other traditional method. Even I say you will fail faster using agile due to the transparency and visibility it brings. But unfortunately, it's not a silver bullet or an excuse to stop thinking. There is nothing magical about Agile. It basically says bring the development team and customer as close together as you can, given them what they need, and then get out of the way. Agile just gives the permission to do the best work and be accountable for the results.
Hi everyone, I'm myself Varun Agarwal and I'll be discussing the few agile myths with Parul. So after the first one, agile is a silver bullet, let's talk about the second one. And the second myth which I'm talking about is agile is equal to Scrum. So what we have seen, this myth says and Scrum are the same thing. What we have seen, sometimes the team members are, using these two terms, agile and Scrum, interchangeably. They think these are the, same things, agile and Scrum are the same, but this is a myth. In reality, agile and Scrum both are the different things. If we talk about just agile first, so agile is a methodology. It is a way of work in which we talk about the growth mindset, we talk about the learning, we talk about the culture of the experimentation, we talk about the culture of failing fast and understanding and gaining the knowledge, and then move forward. We talk about the learning and the improvement, we talk about the changes, how the teams are introducing changes into their processes. So these things are comes into the agile. It is coming from the lean thinking, where we talk about eliminating waste, we talk about the kaizen, which is the continuous improvement. Now if we talk about the scrum is a framework. It is one of the framework of agile, and it is prescribed in the scrum guide, which talks about the end-to-end development life cycle. So it gives a few dedicated role, it gives few dedicated events, the development practices which teams can adopt and gain the benefit from the scrum framework. And this benefit basically from scrum is to achieve the agility. So what we have discussed in the agile, what is agile, so those things can be achieved, that state can be achieved using the scrum. So scrum is a framework, one of the framework of agile, but the agile as a in itself is a different thing. So this was the myth too, and this was the reality.
Now, moving on to our next myth that Agile has too many meetings and waste the time. If I talk about different events in Agile, each event has its own purpose. Like in daily stand up, teams synchronize activities and make visibility of any impediments in achieving the sprint goal. The daily stand up also brings each and every team member to the same page. Talking about sprint planning. The sprint planning meeting is to define what can be delivered in the sprint and how that work will be delivered to add the value to the process. Also, the retrospective meetings are helpful in planning the ways to increase quality and effectiveness. Spending time on these meetings is incredibly valuable as it helps us plan the work, align our work with the problem that we are trying to solve, and to continuously improve our process through timely reflection.
Okay, so after discussing the myth, Agile has too many meetings, let's talk about the next one, and it is the work items in the sprint cannot be modified. So, what we are seeing here is there is a sprint backlog, the list of work items which the teams has committed for the sprint, and that cannot be modified during the sprint. So this is a myth. You might be surprised to hear this, that this is a myth, because most of the time we say whatever we have finalized for the sprint cannot be changed. But the reality is, during the sprint planning, what we do, we finalize, we commit to the sprint goal. Now the sprint goal is coming from the stakeholders, with the product owner, development team has decided. To achieve that goal, there are the work items which are committed by the development team, and as a whole we call that the sprint backlog. But we know that Agile and this Scrum framework mainly, it is based on the empiricism. And empiricism is what? Empiricism says the teams can take the decision based on the available knowledge. Second, the knowledge comes from the experience. So during the sprint, teams are working on something, they gain more knowledge, they gain more experience, and sometimes they might understand that whatever they have committed for the sprint goal, any work item, there are more work items needed to achieve that goal, and at that point of time they can add those work items into the sprint backlog. The whole idea is sprint goal cannot be intact, so that cannot be changed. Sprint goal will be as it is, but the work items in the sprint backlog can be changed to achieve that goal as team learns more. So this was the myth, and this is the reality.
There is another myth about Agile, that is, Agile needs no documentation. So, this myth arises from one of the four principles mentioned in the Agile Manifesto. We value working software over comprehensive documentation. However, this doesn't mean that the methodology does not require any kind of documentation. Agile says working software is important, but whatever helps you to get to that working software is also very important. There are, in fact, situations in which documentation is absolutely required, like adding user stories to the backlog, creating flowcharts, drafting wireframes, documenting client meetings. Also, whenever a product is in the market, the documentation is required for the customers to understand the product. So let's take an example for this. All of us buy mobile phones, right? We get a user manual with that. Till the time the mobile phone is working fine, we don't refer to any of the manuals or so. But if in case the we face any issue, we refer to the manual to understand the issue or a particular feature. Same is case in agile documentation. Agile documentation helps in long-term maintainability of any product. So there is nothing in the agile development methodology that inherently prevents us from creating as much documentation as the project requires.
Yeah. So after this myth, Agile needs no documentation. Let's talk about another myth, which talk about a product owner can change the requirement at any point of time, or can add the requirement at any point of time. So this is a myth. Yes, we say we welcome the changes, we welcome the work request in the late in the development in Agile, but there is a certain process of doing that. It is not very ad hoc that a product owner can come and add anything to the sprint backlog or to the work items for the team, but there is a certain process of this. Now we have the sprint planning meeting after every iteration, and we do the product backlog refinements as well. So if there is any requirement which is important, and product owner is coming with that with that requirement after meeting with the stakeholder. So what needs to be done is a product owner needs to wait until the next iteration to add those requirements into the development backlog. What is happening if that requirement is so much crucial, is so much critical that it impacts the revenue? So what happens in that case? A product owner and team can negotiate over the development or the sprint backlog, so that the work can fit into the sprint. The sprint goal cannot be changed, cannot be negotiated. So all these things come into the consideration, and then product owner decides when to put that a new requirement into the sprint backlog. But yes, it is not like that product owner can introduce anything at any point of time for that development. There are the certain processes, certain events for doing that.
Let's talk about another myth of Agile, that is Agile works only for co-located teams. We know that Agile emphasizes on heavy stakeholder involvement throughout the project, but that doesn't mean that all the team members must work at the same location for Agile to be successful, right? The rhythm of an Agile team does not come from being in the same location. It comes from shared goals, a collaborative mindset, and most importantly, a bullish commitment to delivering the incremental value. The COVID period is actually the best example to burst this myth. From about last 2 years, teams are distributed remotely and people are working from their respective places. And even working remotely has not hampered the productivity of any employee. Teams are interacting via different channels like Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Zoom, and many more can be added to the list. I believe Agile makes remote working much, much easier. So it is the real time conversation and collaboration that matters, not where and how it occurs.
Right. So now let's discuss about a very interesting myth, and it is about Scrum Master is the replacement of manager and the team leads. So what we have seen most of the time when we introduce the agile way of work, the Scrum framework into the teams working, most of the time the senior leadership, the team member thinks that Scrum Master is the replacement of managers and the team leads. And when this thinking comes, then we feel some kind of friction in the way of working, in the teams working. So the reality behind is that this is just a myth. Scrum Master is not the replacement of manager or the team lead. What Scrum Master do? So we understand Scrum Master is the dedicated role which is prescribed by the Scrum guide, and that role has the certain responsibility. Now, as a Scrum Master for the team, he or she works as a facilitator, the conflict resolver, the facilitator. They try to maintain the sync. They keep everyone on the same. They try to keep everyone on the same page. Apart from that, Scrum Master has some other responsibilities, like for the product owner, they assist product owner in maintaining the backlog, train them with the new ideas of managing the backlog. They also work with the organization in introducing the agile culture into the organization. With the Scrum team, they are with the Scrum team until the project exists. So the project exists, and the Scrum Master is the part of the Scrum team. That's what Scrum Master do. If we talk about the team leads and the managers, they have the broader responsibility. If we talk about these TLs, the managers, they are the in charge of the all organizational activities, like the personal development of a person, the professional development, the technical development. And they also put their time to find the correct fit for the organization. They also evaluate the performance things for a particular member. So all the organizational related thing, the management kind of activities are taken care by the managers, the team leads, and they can also talk about the projects, the progresses on the project, and how the members are thinking about the project, how they feel about the project. Are they getting any challenges, or how those challenges can be solved. So yes, a manager and the team leads role are the broader role. Also, this is not only for the project, this is for the tenure actually. So but the scrum master is just for the particular project, and when the project ends, and the team gets into the another project, there might be a different scrum master, there might be a same scrum master. But yes, if we talk about the roles, scrum master and the manager and the team lead, so these are the quite different. And scrum master is nowhere the replacement of technical leads, team leads, or the managers.
Moving on to our next myth, that Agile is undisciplined and no one is accountable. Although we are well aware of the fact that Agile promotes self organization, this doesn't mean that self organized teams are undisciplined and no one is accountable. In Agile, there is continuous integration and test driven development, which requires skill, coordination, collaboration, and most importantly, discipline from the entire project team. If I talk about one of the agile methods, that is Scrum. Scrum requires a high level of discipline by outlining a clear process and set of rules. There are certain time boxes that are defined in Agile. There is definition of done that needs to be followed in a task. And teams are focused to accomplish those tasks with required definition of done and in a given time box. So, Agile is a very disciplined way of delivering software.
Right, so let's discuss the last agile myth for this video. uh, the last myth says agile is only for the software development. So what we have seen when we talk about agile, uh, the first thing comes into our mind is the software development. So that means agile is just only for the software development. Most of the teams, most of the team members, most of the people believe that. But behind the scene, the reality is agile can be used in any industry which talks about the complex work system, which talks about the uncertainty. Whenever and wherever teams are finding the complexity, uncertainty, there are no clear roads, agile can come into the picture, and the teams can get the benefit of it. So what agile talks about, agile talks about the learning, experimentation, and when the teams doesn't have a very concrete road, how to move, then agile comes into the picture when we talk about the experimentation and then define the way where we have to go. So yes, agile is not only for the IT industries. It is for most of the means many business can take the benefit of it. If you see on the screen right now, this is from the latest state of agile report, where the number of industries are using agile, it has been shown. So you can see on the screen and understand that the number of industries are using agile. Apart from this list, apart from this stat, there are few examples which I want to present. Now, if you have heard about the big fours, there are the big four industries, and they are working on the audits. So, for recent few years, they are using the agile for their internal audit system. So this is another industry which is using agile for their internal audits, and they are doing it well. There is another example. There is a website called Scrum Your Wedding. So this is the website which talks about managing the all marriage activities, and they provide the Scrum Masters. They do all Scrum kind of things to organize a marriage. So this is a lifestyle. The lifestyle example where the agile is being used. Now, if we are talking about India, so there is a Puducherry Union Territory, and for the good governance, there is a agile model has been adopted there. So they have all sync up meeting at 10 o'clock, and they what they believe is to go to the area of the action and take the necessary step rather than just doing the documentation. So what they are doing, they are accepting they are adopting the agile culture for for doing the good governance, for producing the good governance. And interestingly, we have seen in the last year that Puducherry Union Territory has got the rank one among the good governance. So these were the few examples. Last, we have seen the Toyota production system, in which the Kanban model is used, and Toyota is the largest automobile organization, and they don't have any warehouses. So they have so much mature a delivery system, that they are producing the product as per the need of the customer, but they don't need any warehouses. Yes, it takes time to get that maturity, but yes, agile is that framework of agile is being used here. And they are working on the lean thinking. They are minimizing the waste, they are doing the kaizen, the continuous improvement, and then they are moving towards this maturity. So yes, agile is not only for the softwares. There are different industries where the agile is being used. So yes, that was the myth, and the reality is any industry can use agile if they are working into the complex ecosystem. So guys, these were the few agile myths Parul and I went through about these myths. I hope you got some clarity about these agile principles, about the Scrum, and then the myths which are around the community. So, in the upcoming videos, we will come up with the agile delivery models, with Scrum framework in depth, what is empiricism, and then we'll move forward. So, for now, I'll take a leave, and we'll meet in our next video, and we'll discuss some exciting stuff. So, till then, take care, keep safe, bye bye.